Hi, my name is Brittany of BrittanyJJones.com. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you will like what you see and subscribe below for more. In today's video, we are going to be cutting out a pattern. I think it's so crazy that I don't have like a single isolated solo video of just me cutting out a pattern. Maybe I do, but I couldn't find it. So we're just going to do one today. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be talking a little bit about the sizing that I'm cutting and why, showing you all the tools that I'm using. Nothing's really changed as far as tools. So if you know that I use rotary cutters, I still use rotary cutters. But I'm also going to share some of the things that tripped me up when I first started cutting patterns, things that kind of got confusing and I was like, what am I doing? And those things led me to cutting out the wrong size. So if you're interested in that, keep on watching. For the pattern that I'm going to be cutting out, I'm going to be going with Simplicity 9452. I like View D on the pattern. I like the square neckline. I like the elastic that goes over the shoulder. I like that View D sleeve has elastic at the elbow as well as at the wrist. So I really do like that. The only thing that kind of has me on the fence are all the pleats. It's a lot of pleats, but I'm gonna see how it looks. This may end up being my favorite top. So I'm gonna make it, like I said, I like all the other details. The pleats just kind of have me like, don't know what that's going to look like, but we're going to go ahead and sew it. If anyone has any questions about what I'm wearing, this is the True Bias Roscoe pattern. This is a dress. I actually have a sew along for the top, so you can use that sew along to make the dress. You just have to lengthen it. I'll put that sew along link here. I think that is all. So let's go ahead and get started cutting out a pattern. All right, y'all. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and cut out the Simplicity 9452 in this video, and I'm going to be making View D. After I decided on the view, I just kind of get all the other information and details about the pattern that I need. So immediately I look at the type of fabrics that the pattern recommends. So if you never know what type of fabric to go with, always check out the back of the pattern. They have a list of suggested fabrics right here for you. Like I said, I'm going to go with View D. So for View D, the fabric is 60 inches wide. I like to look down at the finished garment measurements. I do not cut my pattern based off of these measurements here that's on the envelope. These measurements here, they only help me decide which size pattern to buy. There's usually 2 different envelopes. So based off of my body measurements, I can then pick the right size envelope. Based off of the finished garment measurements on the pattern, I can then pick what size I actually need to cut based off of my preference, the garment, the ease, all of that information. My bust measurement right now is a 43. So I'm gonna go with the 44 and a half. That gives me an extra inch and a half of room in the top around the bust. So yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So that is all the information that I need. I'm gonna cut the straight 18 and I shouldn't need to make any adjustments, but we will see later on when I'm starting to sew. So now let's go ahead and pull out the pattern. So you will have your instructions. You will also have your tissue paper. Everything that you need to sew this top is right here on this tissue paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that to the side and we can open this up. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and cut out my pattern pieces and then I take them to the iron to press all the wrinkles out. I'll be honest, it's not something that I do all the time. Sometimes I'll just take the pattern after I've cut it and put it directly onto my fabric. But it is beneficial to iron and press it out. That way you don't have any folds in your pattern and it's nice and flat on your fabric so that you know you're cutting out your pattern without any, wrinkles and folds in your tissue paper. So it is beneficial and that's what I've started to do as of late. Haven't always done it, but I started to do it as of late. Okay, this tissue paper has 2 pieces. And this is what the tissue paper looks like here. It has all of the information that you need, the pleat lines and everything here. I'm gonna come back to my instructions because this is gonna tell me all the pieces that I need to cut out for View D here on the pattern. So it looks like this. You'll have all the layouts and then it also tells you that it's 9 pieces, tells you what those 9 pieces are. So for View D, I need to cut out pattern piece 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. I cut out all the pattern pieces except for 1. So I don't need to cut out pattern piece number 8. Everything else I need to cut out. When I'm cutting out patterns, I find it helpful to use a rotary cutter. I had a smaller rotary cutter that I use for my patterns. I haven't been able to find it since we moved. So this right here is dull blade. It's an old blade. So I just use this now to cut out paper. And my black one here, this is from LDH. I use this one to cut out fabric. So I don't mix the two. I have one for paper and one for fabric. So again, I'm gonna use a rotary cutter. I find it a lot faster and I can get straighter cuts when I use a rotary cutter. So again, I said I'm gonna be cutting the size 18. I am just gonna follow the size 18 lines all the way around. I'm gonna double check that the bust, they have the finished garment measurements right here at the bust. This is saying that it is still a 44.5. So that's good. And I'm also gonna check it on the sleeves and see if they have a finished measurement there as well. But for now, I'm just gonna go all the way around the pattern. I'm gonna cut it out. Looking at the pattern here, I'm happy to see that view C and D is shorter than view A and B. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with view C and D. I don't want it to be too long, so I'm gonna go with this one. I know some people, when they're cutting, they don't cut directly on the line. I feel like I'm kind of a mix. Sometimes I get on the line, sometimes I'm right beside it. So honestly, as long as you just cut out on the cutting line for the size that you need, you should be good. I don't really get too like OCD if I'm on the line or beside it. Now, if you're cutting like all the way over here from the cutting line, I wouldn't recommend. I would definitely come a little bit closer because you'll eventually have to cut that off when you start to cut the fabric. But I'm just gonna cut like so all the way around the pattern. Markings like this used to confuse me so much when I started sewing. It almost looks as though you're cutting on the size 22 line, does it not? When I first started sewing, that used to really trip me up. So if this confuses you as well, just take a look down. This is just the dots. We are cutting the 18, so our 18 dot is down here. We're still on the size 18 line. So just pay close attention to those little details because they used to trip me up so much when I first started sewing, and I always thought I was cutting the wrong size. Sometimes I was actually cutting the wrong size. I would get off a line because of these markings. Markings like this, they really just trip me up. So I just wanted to mention that. And so now I'm just gonna continue following along the size 18 all the way along the pattern. Okay, I've just cut out pattern piece number 1. This is the front for Simplicity 9452. So I'm gonna put this to the side and go ahead and cut out my other pattern pieces the same way. Okay, so this is also another thing that used to really confuse me when I started sewing. So you will often see, depending on what you're making, it can be multiple pattern pieces with the same number in your tissue paper. I cannot tell you how many times I've cut out the wrong size. So when you see this and you're like, why is it 2 number 5s? Or why is it 5 number 2s? Because trust me, those patterns exist. That just means that they've broken up the sizes. So for this number 5, it tells you it's the size 16, 20, and 24. For this one, it's the size 18 and 22. So again, just when you're cutting, you really have to just take a closer look at your pattern pieces, especially if it's multiples, because I've made that mistake many times and I've ended up cutting out the wrong size. Sometimes it's even individual sizes. So it could be 1 for 18, 1 for 20, 1 for 22, 1 for 24. You don't accidentally want to cut out the size 16 thinking that it's only one pattern piece 5 when you need the size 18. So again, just take a closer look. I do not want you to make those same mistakes that I did. Okay, I have all of my pattern pieces cut out, and once I have them cut out, I always like to do a final check to make sure I didn't miss anything, because that's also something I've done many times. So I needed everything except for pattern piece number 8. So I just do a quick double check. So I have 1 here, which is the front, 2 is the back. The sleeve, it does not have the finished garment measurements on it, but this is a pretty big sleeve. I always check the sleeve only because I have full biceps, and so I need to make sure that my arm is going to fit comfortably in it. So I always check the sleeve for the same finished garment measurements just to make sure it'll tell you the width of the sleeve right at the bicep. So I always check to make sure that it would be comfortable for me. So that's pattern piece number 3. Here's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So we are all good to go. So next thing that I do is I go ahead and iron them on a low heat setting because, again, like I said, I have not done it all the time. I've just recently started to really get serious about it. But you can see if you lay this onto your fabric, you have all of these creases and folds and things, and you really want a nice, smooth, flat pattern when you lay it onto your fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and press these now. I am not using any steam. So you can already see the difference that crease is now flat as opposed to this one, she's still creasing. This one's flat. So I'm gonna continue pressing them. All right, all of my pattern pieces have been ironed. And so the next step is to go ahead and lay these onto the fabric and cut them out. This is the fabric that I think I'm gonna go with. This is from Melanated Fabrics. It is sold out now. I am sorry, y'all. This is an old fabric that we had. I really love this fabric. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm actually gonna double check that I have enough because this is a huge sleeve pattern. So I'm gonna check to make sure I have enough of this fabric. So if you all would like to see, you know, the next step as far as cutting out the fabric, transferring the markings, then please let me know. Leave it down in the comment section. I can definitely get that video up for y'all. Well, that is all for the video. I really do hope that you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them down for me below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you do not miss when I upload my next video, and I will see you all then. Blessings, everyone. Bye.